The Palm Beach Civic Association brings you Studio 33480, delving into key issues impacting all who live or work in the zip code for the unique island of Palm Beach. This program is sponsored by the Fortin Foundation of Florida. And now, our host.
I'm Tim Malloy for Studio 33480. Here's some food for thought. How does a kid who grew up on 100 acres in a very rural Maine house, heated by a wood fire, become a Michelin-recognized 7-time James Beard Award nominee, a young superstar whose cuisine is known internationally now and craved right here in Palm Beach? Here's another question. In an era of hyper-promoted, temperamental TV chefs, how is this guy kept so grounded and so nice? Buccan, Emoto, Grotto, the list is growing. Let's start with the obvious question from me, a guy who can't even fry an egg. Where did this talent come from? Clay Conley, thanks. Chef Clay Conley, thank you for joining us. All right, let's start here. Maine, 100-acre farm.
Yep.
I would imagine orchards. Pretty rural, but sort of the birthplace of farm to table almost. Was something in your DNA from growing up there, and is that where it all kind of began for you?
I'm sure that it definitely had an influence on me. At the time, it felt like a lot of work as a kid.
Meaning you actually worked the farm?
Well, it was. I definitely worked the farm. My sisters and I, and every weekend, and we had to, at night we'd feed the pigs and, bring them water and all that stuff. At the time I hated it, but I think it definitely had an influence on my work ethic and also
absolutely. And your understanding generally of nature and foods, I mean, that's got to be part of this, right?
Yeah.
So what happens next? You obviously leave Maine, and
Yeah.
you have an interest in this.
I started washing dishes in Maine when I was probably 13 or 14 in the summers.
Right.
And I worked at like a fine dining at the time in Arundel, Maine, which is right next to Kennebunk. I just fell in love with it immediately. Like I would wash the dishes as fast as I could so I could go.
So you could watch the
So
chefs?
I could go cut mushrooms, and then I'd go back and wash the dishes, and they'd give me another menial task. So I think from the very second I got in there, something about it was like, and it was from then on that I worked in kitchens until now.
No particular mentor along the way, or were you making this up as you went along?
No,
Obviously you don't. You learn.
I wanted to go to culinary school. I was one of those kids that was kind of wanted to do everything as a young person. So my parents were like, why don't you go to a regular college and see if you still want to do it afterwards.
Like be a lawyer instead?
Well, just business school. Yeah.
And when did they finally occur to them, this guy's got some talent, he needs to do this?
I kind of went to college. After Florida State, I basically was working down in Boca, and I was like, had the chance to move to Boston. So when I got to Boston, I was like, what's the best restaurant in Boston right now?
Which was?
Todd English's Olives.
Yeah, and he's quite famous now.
Very famous.
Did you know him well, and did that help you?
I didn't know him at all.
I didn't know him at all.
I showed
was
up
one of
on-
his shops.
I showed up on his doorstep one day, and he was making ravioli, and I was green as they come.
How old were you?
20 years old, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I did a stage at Olives, and blew my mind. All the stuff on the stove, I had no idea what half the stuff was. And he was like, I'm not sure you're ready for Olives, so he sent me to his pizza place down the street in Charlestown.
Wow.
And I worked at Figs. But that started my 10-year run with Todd.
Was it sort of like AAA to AA to big leagues?
Exactly.
Is it kind of that's the way it works?
Yeah.
But is he moving you all the time?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I started as a cook at his pizza place, and 10 years later I was his culinary director, overseeing 18 of his restaurants.
Was there a certain kind of food or were just eclectic? Anything you came upon, or did you study certain things? Were there certain spices, meats, things? Give me a feel for what you ate and what
Working for Todd was amazing. I still think he's one of the better cooks around. I mean, his food is.
You call them cooks?
Well, chefs, whatever they are.
Cool.
So he would do stuff from all over the place. You know, his whole thing was like wherever olives are grown, I'll do food from there. So that's olives, Mediterranean, Middle Eastern.
Right.
So he had all kinds of these different flavor profiles, and he had a menu, and then he had a special sheet with like 25 specials on it that would change every night. So the intensity of the place was just, I mean, for a young cook, it was like.
So were you the sous chef, or you?
I was just a cook there.
You were a cook,
Yeah.
okay.
But
And then what happens next as far as
So-
level of?
So I worked for him, moved around. I moved to D.C., opened the Olives there. I moved to Vegas, lived there, opened the Olives in the Bellagio. And then he sent me to Japan to open the Olives in Tokyo.
What was that like? I mean, that's unbelievable. It's like
It was
just
crazy.
moving through the big leagues.
Yeah, it was crazy. The Japan is unbelievable. It's the food is just, every ingredient is so precious.
But so
to the
this is a sea
Japanese.
change. This is a totally different kind of thing,
Yeah.
going from an olive to Japan.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, a complete different respect for food. Like just everybody, like the busboys were all aware of the seasons and what's in season, and how they get so excited about a certain fruit that was around at that point in time, or the cherry blossoms, and it's just a different mentality when it comes to seasonality. So
Did you
that
think about
was
staying there?
eye-opening. I loved it over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
But you haven't had do you have Japanese stuff on the menus here? Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
in Emoto.
is
In Emoto.
Yeah, and we always have some Asian stuff at Buccan as well.
It's amazing. And I asked you before, culinary school, you were thinking about Cornell, but you didn't necessarily need to do that, right? Did it just acting on instinct?
I didn't get into Cornell. And
You didn't get in?
Yeah,
Okay, well,
and then
maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, it all works out the way it works out, and
Yeah.
I think for the best. But yeah, the culinary school, once I got done and started working for Todd, I just didn't feel like I needed to go back. I was learning so much, and I was really trying to make up for the fact that I didn't go to culinary school. I would just read cookbooks all night when I got home from work, and I just
A little chip on your shoulder because of Cornell or not?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes that works.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just, enthralled with the industry.
Okay, those 3 restaurants here in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
Well, one in West Palm, 2 in Palm Beach. And you're thinking about Miami now, too, right?
We're opening Coral Gables, which
Wow.
will be a Buccan, Emoto, and a sandwich shop. That'll be opening in March, so it's almost done.
Similar menus?
Similar menus. Yeah.
Is there a Florida cuisine? Is there a certain ethos about this place that has you guide the food toward that ethos?
I mean, the seasonality, we definitely, and Florida's a great place to cook because you've got stuff growing all winter long, where my friends are, cooking white beans and greens up north, but
Yeah.
here we have, tomatoes and eggplant and all this stuff in the winter that's not normally. So it takes a little bit of getting used to.
You said when we sat down, I said, what do you like? What food do you like? You said you like to eat. You cook what you eat.
Yeah, I
What you
cook what I
to
like to eat.
So
Yeah.
what would that be?
These days, I'm definitely eat a lot cleaner than I used to. I used to be into like over the top flavor, fat, richness, and now I'm definitely more drawn towards still very flavorful stuff, but like lighter, and I want to taste all the ingredients. It's very easy to make something taste good with a handful of Parmesan
Yeah.
and a stick of butter. But
Yeah.
the challenge that is to make something that's a little bit cleaner. And
Is meat clean enough for your body? In other words, is meat one of the things you start to avoid?
yeah, I was vegan for 2 years,
Really?
but I've started to incorporate meat and fish.
Give me a
again.
good vegan dish besides
We
eggplant parm.
We always have 4 of them on it
Oh,
at
do you?
Buccan, yeah, and that kind of changed that. Doing that changed the way I looked at food as well. I think it's always like kind of always.
So you're
changing.
evolving with the
Evolving,
menu. Are
yeah.
people eating more healthy now? Or
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the vegan dishes are very popular
Yeah.
because I try and make them be as flavorful as a regular normal dish with
it seems like there's a heck of a lot of chefs,
Yeah.
and maybe too many TV chefs.
Yeah.
But it's a very competitive world now, and you can be a star as you're a star. I mean,
Yeah,
you are in your
I don't
world.
know about that,
But well, yeah, but you can. Is the market flooded with that? And would you encourage a kid to go into this business?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would definitely encourage somebody, if they're passionate about it, to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree that there's a lot of restaurants,
Yeah.
but that's if you can go and deliver on not just great food, but like hospitality is a big one for us.
No, talk to me about that.
Yeah.
Right from the minute you walk in the door.
Yeah.
So your staff is
Yeah,
huge.
I mean, we always say we treat our staff better than we treat our guests. So we really try and foster like an environment, and I think you can tell, like those servers in our restaurants you can tell people are happy, or I hope that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't dispute that at all.
Yeah, so that's
That's an
important
interesting
for us.
part of this. I hadn't actually going to ask you about that, but that's cool. So you hire people who you find are people.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. Why not a TV career? Sorry, it probably came your way, right? I mean,
yeah. I just not. I'm not a very good public speaker, and
You're doing pretty well here.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's just not my thing. I just I don't know. I'd rather be cooking and behind the scenes.
And you become I'm not going to get into Taylor Swift and all that,
Yeah.
but you have become sort of a celebrity outpost too. What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool.
Anybody can come in, right?
Yeah, we got Taylor Swift sitting next to somebody in shorts and flip flops, and that's kind of that's when we designed the restaurant. That's what we wanted, is like a place for everybody to come and just feel like comfortable.
What do you want their experience to be from the beginning, from walking in the door till they walk out?
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of it's like we want you to come to Buccan or Emoto and feel like you're over a friend's house for dinner. I mean, that's kind of what we had in mind when we designed it. We had back in the day, we had a living room up front, we had the bar, we had the communal table, we had all these like different experiences for people to come, hopefully come a couple nights a week, and very good high quality ingredients, but served in a way that's simply prepared, not over the top, or at least to the eye of the guest.
Palm Beach is a fancy town, so you're bridging casual Florida to elegance, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not a wine drinker, but wines. Are you an expert on marrying food to wine?
I'm not an expert
But
in
you
that,
have a
but
sommelier.
we have some people who are experts. Yeah.
All right.
I gave that stuff up a while ago.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So what's next? I mean, just keep expanding. And Miami must be pretty exciting.
Yeah. Coral Gables is.
Coral Gables. Yeah.
Either. We're excited about that. We think it's a good market. We've been looking at it for quite some time.
All right.
So.
Clay, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Clay
appreciate
Conley.
it.
Good man. Thank you. I'm Tim Malloy for Studio 33480. We'll see you soon.